Hi everyone, I am so excited that you're here today. Today is our very first day of a super fun series called Emoji Madness. Emojis are awesome. With just one little picture, we can show people what we're feeling, whether we're happy, sad, or even scared. But did you know there's a book of the Bible that talks about all of these emotions? It's called the Books of Psalms. Psalm is different from any other book in the Bible. It has 150 chapters, but no stories. That's right, 0. Instead, the book of Psalms is filled with poems, songs, and prayers to God. And most of them were written by King David. It was a way for him to tell God how he was feeling. So each week during Emoji Madness, we're going to look at a different emotion and see what the book of Psalms has to say about it. Are you ready to see which emotion we're going to look at today? This week, we're going to be looking at fear. The truth is that we're all afraid sometimes. You might be afraid of the dark, afraid of thunderstorms, afraid of your family falling apart, or afraid of fiery ferrets falling from the sky. Well, you could be, right? Whatever you're afraid of, though, fear not, for the book of Psalms has something for you. So let's look at what David said about fear in our Psalms for today. I looked to the Lord, and he answered me. He saved me from everything I was afraid of. Psalm 34:4. Hey guys, let's dive deeper into that psalm by looking at a story from another book of the Bible. We're going to look at the story of a fear-filled servant in the book of 1 Kings. Many years before Jesus was born, the evil king of Aram declared war against God's people. The king would say to his officers, "Let's set a trap for the Israelites." But the Israelites had a secret weapon. His name was Elisha, and he was a prophet of God. God would tell Elijah about the traps, and Elisha would warn the Israelites so they could avoid them. After a while, the evil king of Aram started getting angry. He called for his officers and yelled, "One of you must be a spy." Little did they know. He was asking them, "Who's telling the Israelites how to avoid my traps?" And the officers said, "It's not us, Your Majesty. It's the prophet Elijah. He knows what you say even when you whisper them in your bedroom." So the king said, Go find him and bring him to me." When the officers found Elijah, they gathered a huge army with horses and chariots, and they surrounded the city. When Elijah saw the army, he stayed cool. He was calm. But Elijah's servant was shaking in his boots. That's because the servant couldn't see what Elijah saw. So Elijah prayed, "Open my servant's eyes, Lord, so that he may see." What do you guys think happened next? What do you think the servant saw? The servant was shocked. Suddenly, he could see what Elijah had been seeing all along. They weren't alone. right? An army of fiery angels filled the hills all around Elijah. As the enemy came charging after them, Elijah came out with a plan. He prayed to God, strike this army with blindness. And God did it. The entire army went blind. Then Elijah walked up to them, pretended to be someone else, right? And he told them, Elijah isn't here. Follow me and I'll lead you to the right place. Elijah couldn't believe it. His trick was working. The soldiers that were blind didn't know who he was and they followed him. When Elijah got to his destination, he prayed to God, give them their sight back. And God did it. The entire army could see again, but they didn't like what they saw. They hadn't been led to Elijah. Instead, they had been led straight to the king of Israel and his waiting army. Thanks to God, not only had the Israelites avoided their enemy's trap, they had trapped their enemy. Isn't that an amazing story? Why do you think Elijah wasn't afraid of the enemy army, but his servant was? That's right. Elijah could see the army of angels protecting him, but his servant couldn't. The servant couldn't see that God was right there with him. It's kind of the same for us. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The servant was afraid of the giant enemy army. But what kind of things are kids like you afraid of? The Bible tells us that whenever you're facing fears like these, God is right there with us. He guides you and protects you. He gives you the courage to stand up to your fears, just like he did for Elijah. But sometimes when you're facing those fears, it's hard to see that God is there. And when you can't see that God is there, your fear seems maybe even bigger and scarier. And you also start to shake in your boots, just like the servant did. When that happens, you can do what Elijah did. And what's that? Elijah prayed. Elijah prayed so that his servant can see the army of angels. Prayer is the answer to overcoming fear. Elijah prayed that God will open his servant's eyes so that he could see that God was right there with them. He did what our psalm for today says to do. Let's take a look at it. Open your Bibles to Psalm chapter 34, verse 4, and it reads, I looked to the Lord, and he answered me. He saved me from everything I was afraid of. Whenever we're face to face with one of our fears, we can look to the Lord just like Elijah did. We can pray that God will open our eyes so that we can see that he is right there with us and that he is bigger than any of our fears. We might not see an army of angels around us like Elijah and his servant did, but that doesn't mean that God is not there, because he is. And just like the Psalms say, he will answer you and save you from your fears. Hey kids, this week write a prayer to God. Ask him to open your eyes so that you can remember he is with you when fear attacks. Think of all the things that make you scared and tell God about them in a letter. Tell him that you believe he is bigger than your fears. This week, read 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 8 through 22. Draw a picture of the story or write to God your favorite part of the story and tell him why you like it. This week, you can also draw a picture of something that you're afraid of. Write the word God, G-O-D, in big letters all around so that you can remember that God is near when fear attacks. You guys be blessed, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Oh.